G'day Bomber fans, our final home game of the year, Zach Merrett's 250th. Yeah, it's a big occasion. There's nothing on the line, absolutely nothing on the line. It's a dead rubber game, but this is a pretty big one for the Bombers and the Blues this week, tomorrow. Carlton's last game tomorrow, our second to last game. Big game for both clubs. It does actually feel like the end of the season. I know we've got another game against Gold Coast after this, but this one we've got our captain back celebrating a big milestone at the MCG. Merrett becomes the 16th Bomber to play 250 games, by the way. He's one of the club's greats. So I think because of that, it's important we get out to the game, and if we can't, we watch it from home and we pay attention. I know this year has been pretty tough with all the losses and the injuries, but the boys have been putting in a shift lately, and I get the feeling they're going to be up and about for this game. We've actually got a pretty big game to talk about, one that I think, given our recent performances, we can probably win if we're good enough. So let's get into it. Real quick before the preview, just some votes from the last game, and remember, no tally. I'm going to release the results after the season is done in a separate video, but the pure votes from the Saints game, it was pretty similar. Andy McGrath was the clear standout, best on ground. Mason Redmond wasn't too far behind, and Sam Durham picked up a couple of handy votes as he closes in on Zach Merrett for the Everything Essendon Player of the Year award. The role player, I gave my love to Langford, and you guys gave some back to Old Gold. So those are the votes. Let's get into the game. Okay, so Thursday night, MCG, Essendon home game, our last for the year. Zach Merrett's 250th. Big milestone. The Bombers have lost 11 games on the hop, bound to be finishing in the bottom four. Carlton are 12th. A win could see them rise to 11th. It would kind of be ideal because it would push St Kilda down a little bit, which would bump up our second round pick, but I'd rather the win here. I think the boys really deserve a win. They've been playing with proper heart and proper hunger in the last few weeks, and this is the last of our opportunities to get 4 points on the board. It is a dead rubber game. Both these clubs are done for the season, but the Blues will be going into this game as the heavy favourites. We are, from the bookies, over $4 odds, which is not great, and the Blues are in better form. They're fresh off a huge win against Port Adelaide. They showed signs against the Suns. Harry Mackay is kicking bags. That is scary because there's not too many key defenders that we have left. So yeah, I think Carlton are primed to win this game, just like they won against us earlier in the year when we had more numbers available. So look, the betting man in me would be saying Carlton are the team that will probably win this game, and they should be feeling really good about their chances of winning, but it's definitely closer than we think. This Thursday, it's dead rubber. It is Poo Fest. Channel 7 was silly not to schedule this one because there could be some chaotic, goofy footy. So how can the Bombers win this game? Well, let's start by saying our opponents are not great. There's a reason there is this Michael Voss sacking narrative. For most of the year, they've been playing a pretty bland and unsuccessful brand of footy. If I think of Carlton, and I'm trying to be unbiased because obviously we don't like Carlton. Look, and I can admit when teams are good and bad, but Carlton, I think of them and I think slow, lacking in polish with ball in hand. So I guess not too far off the Bombers right now. But I guess Carlton have real star power and threats across the board, and that's what makes them a dangerous team when they're up and about. Because Sam Walsh is back, and I think he is almost underrated because of how much footy he's missed. I think there's more damage with Walsh than there is with Cripps, but of course Cripps is a huge threat as well. Harry Mackay is fresh off a 7-goal haul. Tom de Koning is going to be rucking against Old Gold. George Hewitt, Jacob Wiedering. There are some big names in this team. Some big names. And luckily for Carlton, we're missing a lot of our big names. That injury list is still pretty high. Some of our very best players are missing. So there's clearly one team on paper who, at least from a top end point of view, is leading into this game with more, I guess, talent. Which for the Bombers makes it about structure and intent. For Essendon to win this game, we will need to exceed expectations, given that our team on paper is not as good. So there's going to have to be an element of hunger that we have that Carlton don't, and there'll have to be intelligence with the way we structure and set ourselves up. And both those things were evident in our recent loss to St Kilda. It felt like for the first time in months we had sustained connection and real intent and energy. Players buying into the game plan because they could feel it working. That is going to play a big part in how we beat the Blues. If we are messy and off it like we were against the Tigers, we're probably going to get smashed. I really wouldn't be surprised. But if we are playing with that similar energy and I guess connectivity that we played against the Saints with, I honestly think we beat the Blues. Now, last week against the Saints, I said that to beat them, you have to shut down their best players, and I think that's important when you've got an injury list like Essendon's because you reduce the skill differential from the top end talent to the bottom. And to our credit, I think we did that really well. We shut down Wangani Millero, we shut down Callum Wilkie. Now, I think to an extent with Carlton, it's similar, but unfortunately they have more firepower, which they can back up on if their best players are missing. So, and I spoke of those players before. But I think if we see Cripps and Walsh get off the leash, if TDK is running right around the ground, that is going to make the players around them bigger threats. Mackay's not going to be a target if the ball isn't coming in easily. I think for the Bombers to win this game, you have to stop it at the source and get ahead in the contest, which is obviously easier said than done when you look at the personnel. But I said the same thing about St Kilda. I thought we had no chance to even match it with them, and we surprisingly held our own in the contest. So I think if we can match it at the contest and win one-on-ones around the ground, get those hard ball gets, get that extra level of toughness going, it makes it so much harder for Walsh to be involved, which makes it even harder for Mackay to be involved. And something I noticed with Carlton, and the stats do back this up, it's that when they're not scoring from stoppages or winning the ball out of stoppages and getting the contest work going, they are a significantly worse team. They really don't have too many struggles moving the ball from D50 to forward 50, but they have struggles scoring from it. They're the 5th best team at moving it from zone to zone, but below AFL average for getting scores on the board, because there's that lack of polish and minimal threat that comes with their ball use, because it is really... it's not good. I don't really look at Carlton as a team to be scared of if they're not winning the footy at the contest. So yeah, the most crucial zone on the field for me, it's got to be the midfield. And unfortunately, if I'm looking on paper, I think theirs has ours covered. You know, with no Martin, Parrish, Caldwell, you got Old Gold in the ruck. It is really hard to see how the Blues don't get the upper hand here. But if they don't, it means we're right in the game. The good news for me is that it is set to be a clear night. And obviously, we can't trust Melbourne weather reports. I've learnt that the hard way. But if it's a clear night, that definitely favours the Bombers. I think especially with Merrett back in the team, it brings efficiency into the game. It makes efficiency and effectiveness a really important component in this game. Not just in front of the sticks, but ball use and building the ball around the field. Because both these teams struggle with moving the footy. But in a pure head-to-head, I think we do have more of that high-end talent with foot skills alone. And maybe that's biased. I'm sure there are some Carlton players that I can't think of off the top of my head. But I can see a world where if this game is being at least evened out in the contest on a dry night, then it gives us a chance to control proceedings on the outside. Maybe possess the footy a little bit and lock it in our 50 like we did against the Saints. I think we showed how we can beat teams against St Kilda. You get your forward pressure, your pressure forwards making it harder for the rebounding Adam Sard and Nick Haynes and Jacob Wiedering and guys like that. If those players have no time on the footy, there are bound to be forward 50 turnovers, and against Carlton, a team who haven't always been the greatest in defence, it could open the door for a few hard-working goals. The worry is when we have to defend, because our backline is pretty makeshift at the moment. It makes Blackiston really important, how he goes on Mackay, Laverty, Pryor, Redmond. That backline is going to be super important heading into this game. Even young Jaden Ewan, he's played really well in his opening games. I suspect he probably gets the job on Zach Williams and looks after him all game. But yeah, I think there is definitely a game here to be won. 100% there is a game here to be won. I think we're in better form than our results suggest. And I think Carlton are probably in weirdly worse form than their form suggests. I think they're playing with real heart and hunger to end the year, but I don't think they're playing... I mean, I think they're vulnerable, is what I'll say. I think they're playing better footy than they have at times this year, but I'd say they're vulnerable. I really don't rate them as a team. I was probably more confident in a loss against St Kilda. The issue is, yes, the Bombers are going to be playing for Merrett, so we'll be up and about, but the Blues are playing their last game. So I think we might see a really hard-fought game between both teams here. Both will be really hungry, and they'll really want to win this game. And with those senior heads at the Blues playing well, if they do, then it makes it really hard for us to match it with that skill differential. Team news, luckily for the Bombers, it seems like we've avoided any proper damage on the injury front. It looks like McMahon and Laverty should be good to go this week after ending games early against the Saints. Merrett is also set to return from his broken hand, and Dylan Shield is available after missing the last game through suspension. I'd assume that Merrett comes straight back in for, I'm going to guess, Adam Sard, who was the sub in our last game. I think Shield could come in for Ben Hobbs, and I think after that there won't be too much changed. I don't think Kale Jarine comes into the team this week. I know there was talk of a debut. I don't think he's ready, and you know, with Laverty staying in the team, it seems it doesn't really make too much sense. I don't think there's Zach Johnson or anyone else comes in either. I don't think there's too many changes to this team. No force changes for once, which is good. As for Carlton, Cooper Lord is concussed. He won't be playing. Their VFL played like 3 days ago, so I'd suspect it's going to be someone outside the VFL coming in, maybe a Mitch McGovern. He was an emergency last week, so he could come into the side. I doubt the Blues make too many changes after that, though. There's no point messing with a winning team. Let's get on to the prediction. Oh, look, I think we can win this game. I think there is definitely a chance for us to win this game. I really don't rate Carlton that much as a team. Yes, we're pretty poor, but I think, we've got our captain back. The boy's playing for him in his 250th. I think there's going to be a bit of passion and feeling in this one. You've got old rivals wanting to get a win in front of a hopefully big MCG crowd. And I really want the boys to get the win. We can win this game and stay in the bottom four. That would be an ideal result. I don't think we rise the ladder if we do wins, so it's not going to affect our draft position too much, I believe. And I think it would be good for the boys to sing the song. There are so many players in this team who haven't yet. I'd count them, but there are too many, and they all deserve a reward. It's been a brutal few months. I think they deserve something to celebrate. I'm going to tip Carlton. I just think they're the better side out there, the side with more availability, less babies. I think a win would be perfect for both fan bases, but I just think the Blues have us covered. I don't think it's going to be a belting. I'm tipping Carlton to get the job done by 25 points in a tight and tense game of Thursday night footy, but that is that. Cheers for watching, Bomber fans. Get out to the game if you can. Cheer the boys on. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And as always, go Bombers.